I am going to speak just briefly, maybe not so briefly, about what it takes to really show up as someone who is trying to show up um, and share with the world and be of service. Um, I have had a long standing YouTube channel that you're probably watching me on for the last decade or more of my life, and found sharing to be a really easy part of my process at that time. And as I've gone deeper into my own psychology and into life experiences that trigger me, I find it more difficult to share because I feel, um, this inner constraint. And so I felt like maybe articulating some of what I've been experiencing can help anyone out there that also is struggling to know how to show up whenever this sense of paralysis can kind of come over us. Because that's what I experience it as, is this sort of paralysis, and what I should do and what I shouldn't do, or what I should say, what I shouldn't say, because ultimately I want to be a positive force. I want to help people, and I would prefer if I didn't look like an idiot in the process. But you can't have both sometimes. Sometimes you just have to share and show up and be of service, and that can be really triggering. Very triggering. And so I think I'll start with the first thing that I've noticed. None of this is linear, by the way. It's not like there's any sequential order to how you might experience whatever it is that is stopping you from sharing your light, because ultimately I think it's a very individual process, and it is very, very specific and particular. But a lot of these components, these subconscious issues that we have, they're very universal. So although you may not identify with some of the things that I say or share, you most likely can recognize some of it in yourself. And if not, you can feel free to watch something else that resonates with you better. So a few things that can manifest themselves when you're showing up and sharing and being yourself on a public platform behind the screen is, I'll just speak from my experience. The physical reality of like facing yourself in front of you, like literally seeing yourself in front of you. And for some people, that's not a trigger. And for most of my life, it wasn't necessarily a trigger that I was aware of, at least, but it was something that I was hyper aware of, like hyper conscious of being a female, an embodiment in a certain demographic, with certain projections that come along with that, of like having to look a certain way. If I don't look a certain way, then I'm not worthy of showing up. And if I don't look a certain way, then I'm not worthy at all. And this definitely, as I've gotten older and had a child and gone through the initiations of womanhood, there has been so much that I've had to overcome that I think that I took for granted in my younger days, because I just constantly had external validation coming towards me at all times, almost to the point where when that stopped happening and I noticed like life circumstances shift, things started to bother me that didn't bother me before. And but I think I've always had an issue or some kind of subconscious something around appearance and it being a trigger of some kind. So moral of that is to say, like, do your best to accept yourself as you are, as you look right now, and just know that, like, being on earth is a temporary condition and a temporary experience, and you're not defined by how you look and what you look like. And it's easier said than internalized. But just know that, like, I believe in a higher power. I'm a spiritual person, and so I tend to identify with something out there. Beings out there love me more than I love myself, and I just hope that I can embody some of that love and take it in. Like, actually take in the love instead of push it away. Or, I don't know, think that I am who I think that I am through the perception that I'm looking at myself with. Like, they love me, the creator beings that created me love me more than any human condition or any human love, anything that I can be in this very moment. This is just a temporary condition. This is a temporary experience, and that I don't have to be what I perceive to be as perfect through my limited lens. I don't have to live up to some expectation that I have put on myself by way of what has been projected upon me as worthy, as good enough, as perfect, because it's all a lie. It's a man-made construct. It's a lie. And blue ink from my son's marker. So I just wanted to offer that. Don't be fooled by the conditions of others and what you perceive to be success or better than or happier than you, if that makes sense. Like, I often look at people, friends of mine, or just people in the world that are showing up and living their authentic life, and I feel bad about my own life. I feel bad about, like, why can't I just be like that? Why can't I just be happy or content or expressive? Like, why am I battling this depression, this anxiety? Like, why do I have these temporary conditions of running my life right now? And it's just like, maybe it's there to teach you something. Maybe it's there to, I think it's ultimately there to teach us something and to give us the opportunity to remember who we really are, because sometimes we can't know if we don't have that contrast. Like, for me, as an example, I didn't know what kind of relationship or boundaries I had until I was forced to create them, to create standards, to create boundaries, to create not just to create, but to exercise my yeses and nos. And so when we have, conditions that we're dealing with, whether it be like a form of depression or anxiety, it's harder in the moment to look at it as an opportunity. But the more that you can exercise that muscle, like, to remind you that this is temporary, like this brain fog that I've been dealing with, for example, I would get obsessive about, like, what the freak is going on, And then I can just also relax into this awareness that I don't know what's going on. I have a feeling it has something to do with maybe things that I'm purging and digesting out, but maybe I just need to ride the wave, and maybe you need to ride the wave. And I feel like sometimes the way that we ride the wave is to get out of our own head and to create, and to not listen or let the scripts that project into our consciousness all the time that we're not good enough, that we're not pretty enough, that we're not worthy enough, to just share anyways. Like, just share anyways. Just do something anyways. I mean, just like 10 minutes ago, I was in my bed for like an hour, like locked in, just trying to type how I was feeling and post it in a group to try to make sense of what I was going through. And I just realized like I had a hard time articulating, and just realized, you know what? I'm just going to get up and make a video instead. And then it turned it into this video, which is completely different than what it originally I intended it to be. And I played some music, I sung a song, and here I am. I didn't have a formula that, hey, I'm going to do this and this and this, and it's going to make me feel better. But I know such formula does exist, and it is worth trying if you find yourself looping like I do often. Create and utilize like a form of a sequential order to try to like create a flow and routine for yourself, so that your brain knows like, oh, there's other options than just being paralyzed by this phenomenon called depression and anxiety, move your body, do some deep breathing, play some music, write some music, get creative. It won't last forever, even though it feels like it will. And yeah, you don't know what other people are going through. You have no idea. Everything always looks greener on the other side. Everyone looks more happy and content and successful when you look at it from far, and everyone's going through something. It's planet Earth. No one's having like a freaking jubilant time all the time, and practicing gratitude is really helpful in that case. I know it is for me, because when I get in these, it feels like a sludge. It feels like I'm in like black tar, and it's like under my forehead, like literally like this brain fog that goes over my forehead, and I want to try to figure it out and control everything. And like, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's the whole point of this manifesting right now, so that I don't control, so I can let go. So I'm forced to just surrender, because trying to figure it out and obsess over it makes it worse. And I know that, also being of service despite whatever you may be going through is also helpful in getting you out of your own shit. And I can't tell you enough like how much in terror I have been in my own head, and like in my own addiction cycles around like it's like I've been trying to chase comfort, but trying to chase some external support that doesn't exist. Not that external supports aren't there. It's just I have been utilizing like a particular, addiction cycle of like reaching for my phone, because that's what it's designed to do. And there's nothing wrong with you if you do that, because you are a human being, and we have been physiologically hacked and and exploited by these tech companies with no morals, with no ramifications for any of their actions, no one to hold them accountable. That will be changing, by the way. It's going to change very soon. And a lot of these, like big tobacco, for example, they were like this all-powerful, omnipotent force in the world, big tobacco. And then, the forces of karma came and was like, we got to rein you in, basically. And all these regulations and, lawsuits and everything ensued. And so we're going to see a lot of regulation with this big tech world. So don't fret, my fellow sensitive beings that are deeply struggling with addictive cycles. But I digress. Rabbit hole coming back into play. Do something that makes you happy. Do something Even if, so for me, I'm like, what does make me happy? I don't even want to do the thing that makes me happy. This is how far down the depression cycle I've gone into, like so deep, so dark. I'm like, God, I can't, like so deep and so dark that this is here. Like, it's just like it feels like just a constant cloud. And I know it's temporary. Even if it lasts for a long time, it's still temporary. This life is temporary. What can I do despite my circumstances? There are people who are paralyzed, literally physically paralyzed, that still find a way to get through the day. And you can too. You can too. Believe it or not, so can you. And I have always, lately, as of late in the last couple of years, have utilized these things called invocations and decrees from the teachings of the Ascended Masters through the messenger Kim Michaels. Take it or leave it. It's been really helpful for me. Have I been doing it in the last couple of weeks? Not really. Because sometimes you need to step back and get perspective. And I'm really glad that I have, because it's not like I need to do those things in order to be connected to the beings that we call the Ascended Masters or a higher source or whatever floats your boat. Because they're always there. They're always with me. And I'm really glad that this condition has seemingly taken over my whole life, because I'd almost prefer it, prefer the discomfort, prefer this lack of control that I feel over my own body and mind, right? Than who I was before. Because it's really illuminated for me how judgmental, how ignorant I have been. And it's broken my heart. I knew those things. Like I knew I was judging, but it was a part of me rather than like me really being able to disidentify it. And so it feels like almost, I'm even going to pretend, even if it's not the case, I intuitively am like sensing that I think this is like the byproduct of like spiritual surgery that is removing those conditions from my being so that I no longer, so that it's actually real, that I accept that it's separate than me, rather than I am the thing that is thinking those thoughts. Because I really identified with my ego, and maybe this brain fog is, just like the byproduct of it being surgically removed. A girl can dream. We know that we're going to always have our ego while we're in embodiment. That's the whole point. But I guess when I'm talking about these specific conditions of like this ignorance and this judgment, and like, what if I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity to now replace the judgment with curiosity, because it is heartbreaking to me to realize how much I have judged, how lack of compassion that I have had, how mean I can be, and like how hard I am on myself. And then, well, obviously that projects on other people, right? Because like that's how I am with myself. And so I would be devastated if that was how I was treated from another person, but yet I'm doing it. I'm the one hurting myself, right? And then would allow that in the past via relationships or whatever, would allow that to be done to me. But it starts with me. It's not like it started with me to begin with. Allowing that into my life, allowing those conditions. Like, yeah, sure, certain things happened when I was a child. Yeah, totally. And I took that on, and I accepted that as true and continued the pattern throughout my life, when I could have not done that. No blame, no shame. It's just the reality. I kept believing the lie. And so now I'm disengaging and disidentifying with the lie, and it feels like a freaking part of my brain is falling off of my head. And thank God. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, man. maybe one day I'll have something more valuable to offer other than rambles. I would like to, the whole reason why I have this thing and a brand new phone is to make music videos or music things, music creations, and I don't know how I'm going to do that, but because I'm having to fight some serious stagnant forces that don't want to be seen, that don't want to try and experiment. Even though I've done all of this before, if you look in my back catalog, I used to do all of that. What I'm talking about doing again, I used to do it all. I've done it. I know it can be done. However, here we are. I'm acting like I've never done it before. And I'm like, it's almost like this internal rebellion, like a teenager. I'm like rebelling. Like I'm not, but the internal forces of like, oh, you mean I have to actually like do the thing and edit the thing and create the thing and put the effects in the thing? And oh my God, that sounds so daunting. Yeah, well, what are your alternatives? What are your alternatives? To stay stuck? I don't know. You can find another hobby that doesn't involve being a public person, but I could find other ways to serve humanity without showing up, but this is also one of them. I can have many things that I can do to be of service because I'm really just trying to not make it about me, because man, the internal forces just want you to just keep self-imploding like an engine revving like a car revving its engine to max RPMs over and over again, because when you just keep spinning your wheels and blowing smoke and just having you implode. And then what use are you to raising the whole if you're just constantly freaking spiraling, you know? What use are you then? One of these moments, I will accept myself as I am and love myself as I am loved by something greater than me. And I know, thankfully, I don't have to wait long for that, because there are moments. That's the cool thing. Like, it happens all the time. And again, it's just about accepting it, like accepting who you are in the eyes of God, and just remembering and coming back to the fact that this is just temporary. All of this is temporary, and everything that you do, every experience that you have, everything that you learn from that experience is so valuable. Because as you go through your shit and you transcend and you grow, it is pulling up so many people. And that's why we do this. And that's why it makes life worth living, because if life was just about like what we're shown it's about, like you make money to buy things and to eat food and to shit it out and to die, like that's not worth living to me. Like that is not a good enough reason. And I think whenever I start to like live those projections out, I think that's why I get depressed. That's part of the reason. But if I can just keep my why, my WHY, like my why present, like, no, this isn't about me. It doesn't matter if I don't like the way that I look one day. I'm going to show up anyway. Or I'm afraid that I'm going to, because it's all coming from fear. Like, I don't want to do all this because I don't want to get rejected again, or I don't want to get hurt again. And then again, it's like, I don't want these same patterns and traumas to keep repeating. So I just think that isolating and hiding and shielding myself away is going to somehow make it all go away, which is really just caving into the fear. No. No. No, no, no. It don't work like that. Thanks, y'all. I hope this finds you well, and I hope to be able to share this. I hope that I actually can bring myself to share this, and that I don't take it down unless I feel like I need to, like for real. So here we go. I'm going to just do it, and then if I'm just going to do it so I don't convince myself not to do it. So here I go. Okay. See you on the other side. Bye.